They came to conquer Earth, but they never studied what lives on it. The first sign that something was wrong did not come from the sky. It came from the birds. For centuries, humanity had learned to watch the heavens for threats: asteroids, solar flares, distant radio signals whispering of intelligence beyond Earth. Telescopes scanned the void, satellites orbited in silent vigilance, and defense systems stood ready for the day something alien might appear. But no one had ever considered that the earliest warning would come from the restless, chaotic patterns of life already here. On a late summer morning, across continents and climates, birds took to the sky in numbers that defied reason. Flocks merged into storms. Species that never shared airspace flew side by side, and their calls, usually a tapestry of chirps and songs, became a single, unbroken scream. Radar stations picked them up first, confused by the density of organic movement. Air traffic controllers scrambled as entire regions became no-fly zones within minutes. In rural areas, farmers stopped mid-task, staring upward as shadows swallowed the sun. In cities, people poured into the streets, phones raised, capturing the unnatural spectacle. Social media lit up with theories, panic, and fascination. Was it climate change, a magnetic disturbance, some obscure ecological anomaly? No one guessed the truth. High above the atmosphere, hidden behind a veil of distortion that bent light and masked signatures, the Armada waited. The invaders had studied Earth for decades, though to them it was only a brief observation cycle. They cataloged human technology, communication networks, military capabilities, and infrastructure. Their analysis was thorough, efficient, and, fatally, incomplete. They saw cities, satellites, power grids, and weapons. They saw patterns of dominance, hierarchies, and conflict among humans. What they did not understand was Earth itself. To them, life on the planet was categorized into two groups: dominant species and background organisms. Humans were the former. Everything else, millions of species across land, sea, and air, were dismissed as irrelevant. That assumption would cost them everything. The command vessel, a structure the size of a small moon, pulsed with controlled energy as the invasion sequence began. Sleek dropships detached in precise formations, each carrying units designed for rapid planetary subjugation. Their technology was far beyond human capabilities. Adaptive armor, directed energy weapons, autonomous drones, and environmental manipulation systems. The plan was simple: decapitate human leadership, disable communication networks, secure population centers, and establish planetary control within 72 hours. They did not anticipate resistance beyond humans. The first ships entered Earth's atmosphere over the Pacific Ocean. The descent was flawless. Heat shields adjusted in real time, trajectories optimized to avoid detection. They would have remained unseen if not for the sudden disruption in avian patterns. Birds did not scatter from the incoming vessels. They attacked. It began with impact. Thousands of birds collided with the hulls of descending ships, not randomly, but in coordinated waves. Sensors registered them as minor debris, insignificant. The ships maintained course. Then the larger birds joined. Eagles, hawks, vultures, predators of the sky, struck with precision. Their talons scraped against the hulls, beaks hammering at seams and sensor arrays. It should have done nothing. Alien materials were designed to withstand meteor impacts. But Earth had a way of turning small problems into cascading failures. One ship lost a sensor cluster when a dense mass of birds clogged its intake vents. Another experienced overheating as organic matter disrupted its cooling systems. A third miscalculated altitude due to interference in its optical systems. They still landed, but not as planned. The first ground engagement occurred in a remote forest in North America. A dropship descended through the canopy, crushing trees beneath its weight. The ramp deployed, and a squad of invaders stepped onto Earth soil for the first time. They were tall, angular beings encased in biomechanical suits, their forms partially obscured by shifting armor plates. Their weapons hummed with contained energy, scanning the environment for threats. The forest was silent. Too silent. The squad advanced, their movements synchronized, weapons raised. Their sensors detected life, small, scattered, non-threatening. Insects, rodents, distant mammals, nothing of concern. Then the ground moved. At first, it was subtle, a ripple beneath fallen leaves. Then it became a wave. Ants, millions of them, pouring from the soil in a black tide that surged toward the invaders. The aliens reacted instantly. Energy pulses scorched the ground, vaporizing swaths of insects. But for every 1,000 destroyed, 10,000 more emerged. They climbed over boots, into joints of armor, finding microscopic gaps that even advanced engineering could not fully seal. Within seconds, the first invader staggered. The suit registered internal breaches. Microsensors overloaded as the ants. Infiltrated systems, chewing through organic components, disrupting neural links. The alien collapsed, writhing as its own suit turned against it. The others adjusted tactics. They deployed area denial fields, electromagnetic pulses, chemical dispersants. It slowed the swarm, but it did not stop it. From the trees came the next wave. Primates, apes and monkeys, watched from above, their eyes reflecting a level of awareness the invaders had not accounted for. They had seen the destruction. They had heard the sounds. And they acted. Branches fell first, heavy and deliberate, aimed at the invaders' heads and weapons. Then came stones, thrown with surprising accuracy. Not random, not chaotic. Targeted. One invader raised its weapon to fire and was struck in, the arm by a rock, just enough to disrupt its aim. The shot went wide, igniting a tree instead of its intended target. The forest erupted. Fire spread rapidly, fed by dry leaves and underbrush. Smoke filled the air, reducing visibility. The invaders activated filtration systems, but the chaos had already begun, and the predators were coming. Far from the forest, in the oceans, the second wave of the invasion encountered its own nightmare. Submersible units descended into the depths, aiming to secure undersea infrastructure and establish control over the planet's largest domain. Their vessels were built for pressure, stealth, and combat. They were not built for what waited below. The first sign was the absence of expected marine traffic. No schools of fish, no drifting plankton clouds. Just empty water. Then the sonar lit. Up, massive shapes moved in the darkness. Too large, too numerous. Whales, converging from miles away. Their calls, usually songs of communication, became something else. Low-frequency pulses that interfered with alien navigation systems. The vessels attempted to adjust, to recalibrate. Then something struck. From below, a colossal force slammed into the hull of a submersible, denting it inward. Another impact followed, then another. The whales were ramming them, again and again, coordinated in ways that defied the invaders' understanding of animal behavior. And beneath them, something even more dangerous stirred. Sharks, drawn by the vibrations, the electromagnetic signatures, the unfamiliar presence in their domain. They circled, then attacked. Teeth scraped against metal, testing, probing, finding weaknesses. One vessel ruptured. Water flooded in, systems failed, and the crew inside, so confident in their superiority, were dragged into the cold, dark depths. On land, the invasion escalated. Cities were struck with overwhelming force. Energy beams cut through skyscrapers, drones swarmed streets, and human defenses were quickly overwhelmed. Militaries fought back with everything they had, but the technological gap was immense. And yet, something unexpected happened. The animals followed. In urban environments, rats poured from sewers, overwhelming alien drones with sheer numbers. Dogs, domesticated loyal, turned into coordinated packs, attacking isolated units. Birds continued their relentless assaults, targeting weak points, disrupting operations. Even insects played their part. Swarms clogged machinery, infiltrated equipment, and spread chaos in ways no weapon could replicate. The invaders adapted. They always did, New protocols were deployed. Area sterilization measures, environmental suppression fields. They began to treat Earth not as a planet to conquer, but as a hostile ecosystem to neutralize. Forests were burned, oceans were poisoned, atmospheric conditions were altered. It slowed the resistance, but it also awakened something deeper. In the heart of Africa, as alien forces pushed through savanna and jungle, they encountered a wall of muscle and fury. Elephants. Herds of them, moving as one, their massive forms charging with unstoppable momentum. Alien weapons fired, energy blasts striking thick hides. Some fell, most did not. They crashed into the invaders' lines, trampling units, crushing machinery. Their tusks pierced armor, their sheer weight overwhelming systems designed for precision, not brute force. Lions followed, striking from flanks. Hyenas harassed supply lines. Even smaller creatures, birds, insects, reptiles, contributed to the chaos. It was not organized in the way the invaders understood, but it was relentless. Across the globe, similar scenes unfolded. In Australia, swarms of venomous creatures turned entire regions into death zones for the invaders. In the Arctic, predators adapted to the new threat with chilling efficiency. In jungles, deserts, mountains, every ecosystem became a battlefield, and humanity began to notice. At first, it was dismissed as coincidence, then as anomaly, then as something else entirely. Videos surfaced. Footage of animals attacking invaders, of coordinated movements, of what looked like strategy. Scientists argued, military leaders debated, governments scrambled for explanations. But, on the ground, where survival mattered more than theory, the truth was undeniable. Earth was fighting back. Not just humans, everything. The turning point came on the 15th day. The invaders, frustrated by unexpected resistance, prepared a final measure, a planetary suppression pulse, an energy wave designed to disrupt all biological processes on a massive scale. It would kill billions, perhaps more. But it would secure the planet. The device was deployed from the command vessel, its power building, its effects already rippling through the atmosphere. And then the birds came back. Not in thousands, in millions. They rose from every corner of the planet, a living storm that darkened the sky. They flew higher than ever before, pushing beyond limits, driven by something instinctual, something ancient. They reached the upper atmosphere, and they struck. It should have been impossible. Their bodies were fragile, their strength insignificant, compared to the scale of the target. But they were not alone. From below, human forces launched everything they had left. Missiles, rockets, improvised weapons. Not enough to destroy the device, but enough to create openings. And the birds found them. They swarmed the energy emitters, the sensor arrays, the exposed components. Their bodies burned, disintegrated, but they kept coming. Inside the command vessel, alarms blared, systems failed, calculations broke down. For the first time, the invaders faced something they could not model. Not technology, not strategy, but a planet that refused to die. The suppression pulse faltered, then it collapsed. A chain reaction tore through the device, spreading into the command vessel itself. Explosions rippled across its surface, systems shutting down one by one. On Earth, every living thing seemed to pause. Then the sky lit up. The command vessel broke apart, fragments burning as they fell, streaks of fire marking the end of an invasion that had never truly understood its enemy. The remaining forces, cut off from command, began to retreat. Some fled into space. Others were hunted down, isolated, overwhelmed, and slowly the fighting stopped. In the aftermath, the world was scarred. Cities lay in ruins. Forests burned. Oceans carried the wreckage of war, but life remained. Animals returned to their patterns, though not entirely as before. There was something different now, something unspoken. Humans rebuilt, as they always did. They studied the invaders' technology, analyzed the events, tried to understand what had happened. There were theories. Some believed it was coincidence, a series of independent reactions that aligned in humanity's favor. Others thought it was something deeper, a planetary response, an emergent behavior of a complex biosphere under threat. A few dared to suggest something even more profound. That Earth itself was not just a planet, but a system, a living, breathing entity in its own right, and when it was threatened, it fought back. No one could prove it, but no one could deny the evidence. Because when the Galactic Invaders came to conquer Earth, they did not face a single species, they faced a world, and the world won.